McCourt. He's in Washington, D.C. and is an associate professor of government and public policy at Georgetown University. Professor McCourt, thanks for being with us. Now, we've seen senators holding little breakout meetings in the Senate chamber. Can you just explain what's happening now and what discussions are being held?
Well, the Democratic senators and the Republican senators are trying to figure out what's going to happen next. The Senate has voted 55 to 45 to call witnesses. We don't know how many witnesses will be called. We don't know how many the defense will call and how many the prosecution will call. And so the senators are meeting in these groups trying to figure out what are the risks and what are the rewards of calling different people to testify in this trial.
And take us through some of those risks and rewards. Of course, the Democrats have a very specific witness in mind they want to hear from, Jamie Herrera Butler, who says she has knowledge of a phone call between Trump and Kevin McCarthy. And the Republicans have threatened to call maybe 300 people. Where does this go from here, and how many people do you think we'll end up hearing from in the end?
It's not going to be hundreds, I can tell you that. But I'm pretty certain that the Democrats are willing to take the risk. They believe that Representative Butler and Senator Tuberville had direct knowledge of President Trump's actions during the time that the riots were occurring in the Capitol building. They believe that President Trump knew that members of Congress were endangered and did nothing to stop that. That would further their argument that President Trump incited, encouraged, and endorsed the protest, the rioting. The Republicans are going to try to find ways to discredit that by suggesting that the Democrats knew this was likely to happen and that they did nothing to stop that. I believe that's going to be a much weaker argument. After all, the president is the president. His supporters were the ones who stormed the Capitol. The Democrats perhaps could have done things to stop it, but it's not their burden. It's President Trump's burden.
Absolutely. And we do talk of burden of proof in this sort of thing, and there are prosecutions and defense, but it's worth remembering this isn't a legal trial, is it? This is a political process. So it's kind of difficult to see how, despite all the evidence that can be laid out in front of us, and many of us watched that insurrection take place and saw Donald Trump's Twitter feed in the months leading up to it, despite that, the Democrats just don't have the votes, do they?
They don't have the votes at noon on Saturday, February 13th. It's possible those votes could change. Real question now, as it was during the Nixon impeachment, was what did the president know and when did he know it? If it becomes clear to the public that the president knew that the Capitol had been stormed, that individuals were threatening the lives of Vice President Pence and other members of Congress, and at that time did nothing to stop that, it makes it harder for the Republicans to vote to acquit.
I mean, you suggest then that the electorate could have some kind of impact on the decisions by those Republican senators, but hasn't everything we've learned in the past couple of months taught us that Donald Trump really can do what he likes and 75 million Americans will still vote for him?
There was a very small shift by the Republicans to favor impeachment, but it was bringing the Republican support for Trump from incredibly overwhelming to just overwhelming. Now, it's possible that the public will become disgusted if they see the president at the time of the assault on the Capitol did nothing but to encourage it. Not likely to favor the Democrats, but it's possible that it will.
Yes, possible, but we'll see what happens when those votes are called. Okay, Professor McCourt from Georgetown University, appreciate your analysis, sir. Thank you.